Only mating with human partner can heal this alien girl. The alarm screamed through the research station before anyone had finished their coffee. Commander Leon Graves was already running before the second siren pulse hit. The corridor lights had switched to red. His boots hit the metal floor hard, each step echoing like a gunshot through the empty passage. The other crew members were behind him, but he did not wait. Something had breached the outer hull of Station Helios 7, and the station's AI had flagged a biological signature unlike anything in its entire database. The containment bay doors hissed open. She was lying on the floor of the pressure chamber, curled tight against herself, like something that had decided to stop existing and had not quite finished the process. Her skin shifted between pale silver and a bruised, deep violet. Her hair moved on its own, slow and weightless, like she was still underwater. There were no visible wounds, but the bioscanner in Leon's hand screamed at him in a language it had never used before, something coded into the base structure of whatever she was. Dr. Carol Avery was right behind him. She looked at the scanner readout, then looked at the alien, then looked at Leon with an expression that said she had run out of scientific frameworks in under. She came in through the meteor debris field, said the station's AI through the ceiling speakers. She survived open vacuum for approximately 14 minutes. Carol said nothing for a moment. Then, that is not possible. And yet, Leon said. He crouched down in front of her. Up close, her features were almost human enough to be unsettling. A mouth slightly open, the shape of a jaw, the angles of her face belonging to some geometry that Earth never developed. Like her biology was trying several solutions to a problem it could not solve. She is conscious, the AI reported. Neural activity is present, but degrading. Leon reached out and placed 2 fingers against the side of her neck, the way anyone would check a pulse. Her skin was cold, then it was warm, then it was cold again, toggling between states as if her body could not decide what temperature meant. He felt something, not a heartbeat exactly, more like a tide, a slow, rhythmic pull. She opened her eyes. Literally the color of poured metal, reflective, lit from inside, past the other crew members now gathering at the door, directly and completely on him. A sound came out of her. Not a language any of them had heard. It was a question. You are safe. She did not look like she believed him. Carol pulled Leon back by the shoulder. Leon, the scanner is reading something I need you to see. She turned the device toward him. The readout was dense, full of flagged anomalies, but one line at the top was blinking red in plain translated text. Biological cascade failure? Cause unidentified, estimated time to total systemic collapse, 41 hours. Leon looked at the alien girl on the floor, then at the number. 41 hours, he said quietly. We have no idea what she is, Carol said. We have no idea what she needs. We do not even know if she breathed the same mix we do, though obviously something is keeping her alive right now. I can run analysis, but Leon, 41 hours is not a lot of time to understand a completely unknown biology from scratch. Then we start now. He turned back to the girl. She was still watching him. Her skin had stopped cycling through colors and had settled into something close to silver, the violet fading slowly. He did not know what that meant. Like he was the only fixed point in a room full of motion, made him stay crouched on the floor rather than standing up and stepping back. Can you understand me? He asked. The sounds that came out were layered, 2 or 3 tones at once, the way a chord is not one sound but several. Then, under those sounds, something clicked. The station's translation matrix, still in passive mode, caught enough phonemic data to produce a single word in English on the display panel behind her. The word was yes. What is your name? Another layered sound. The translation matrix worked for several seconds, processing. Then, Vial, Leon repeated. You are on a human research station. We want to help you. Vial looked at him for a long moment. Then she raised one hand and placed it flat against the floor and pushed herself up into a sitting position. The effort it cost her was visible. Every muscle in her body was working harder than it should have needed to for that simple motion. She sat there, upright, breathing in careful increments, and looked at the room around her with those gold eyes. Then she looked back at Leon. The translation matrix gave one more word, as if her biology itself had flagged the information as priority. The word was bond. Nobody in the room spoke. Leon stared at the panel. Carol stared at the panel. Even the 2 crew members standing in the doorway went completely still. Bond, Leon said, mostly to himself. What does that mean? The scanner in Carol's hand beeped. She looked down at it. Her face went through several expressions in quick succession, none of them comfortable. Leon, she said slowly, I think we need to talk. Outside the porthole, the debris field drifted past in silence. Whatever had brought Vielle here had already scattered into pieces too small to trace. She had arrived alone, in the dark, without a ship, without a suit, carrying a timer they did not understand, and a single word they did not know how to answer. The clock had already started. Carol spread the scanner data across the main lab display, and for a long time, nobody said anything, because there was genuinely nothing useful to say. The biology on the screen belonged to no known category. Vielle was not mammalian in any sense the station's database recognized. She was not classified under any xenobiological framework humanity had developed in 50 years of. She was, as far as the scanner was concerned, a question mark wrapped around another question mark, and the only concrete information it could offer was still that same blinking countdown. Vielle sat in the medical bay chair. Leon had brought her there slowly, letting her set the pace, which was very slow. Moving clearly cost her, like someone who had decided that falling was not something she was willing to do in front of. There was a pride in it that Leon recognized without being able to name it. Carol had tried 3 separate blood draws and gotten nothing useful. Vielle's circulatory fluid was not red, not blue, not any color the lab had a reference for. Under the microscope it moved on its own, autonomous, like each cell had its own agenda. She's not dying the way we die, Carol said to Leon in the corridor outside the medical bay. She kept her voice low. There is no organ failure. The cascade I am reading looks more like a signal dropout, like some essential communication channel inside her body has gone quiet. Needs. Leon leaned against the wall. A signal dropout. The best analogy I have, Carol said, and I want to be very clear that this is extremely preliminary, is that her physiology requires some form of external input to maintain its baseline function. Not oxygen, not in the way we need it. Something her species evolved to receive from another member of her kind. Leon was quiet for she said the word bond. Yes. And you think that is what she needs? With someone. Carol pressed her lips together. The scanner has flagged something else in the last hour. Every time she is near you, the cascade slows. The decline rate drops measurably. When you left the containment bay and came to the lab for the briefing, it spiked back up. When you came back in with her, it leveled out again. Leon stared at her. It is you, Carol said. I have no framework for why. I have no biological explanation ready for you right now. Something about your proximity, your specific biochemical signature, your particular whatever, is partially compensating for whatever she is missing. I am a human, Leon said. She is not. I am aware, Carol said. I am not telling you what to do. I am telling you what the scanner says. Leon went back into the medical bay. Vielle looked up when he walked in. The gold of her eyes had dimmed slightly in the hour he had been in the corridor. The silver of her skin had grayed at the edges, at her temples, at the tips of her fingers. He sat down across from her. The translation matrix had been running passively since her arrival, and it had gotten better. Each sentence she produced fed it more data. It was not fluent. Can you tell me what happened to you? She considered this. When she spoke, the matrix worked visibly, lag and all, assembling meaning out of layered tones. My ship lost its resonance field. I was caught in the debris. My bond partner did not survive. Leon absorbed that. Someone from your species, yes. We do not survive the loss well. Our biology does not allow for it. We are built to be paired. The pairing is not optional. It is structural. How long ago did you lose them? 11 of your days, Carol had come to the doorway. Leon did not look away from Vale. "And you have been in open space for 11 days, he said. "I was in stasis for 9. The station's gravity caught me." 14 minutes in vacuum, Leon said. "I was motivated," Vile said. It was not a joke. Her tone carried no humor register. "Now why did you not try to contact a rescue vessel?" "Your own people?" Vile looked at him steadily. "My kind does not rescue the unbonded. It is considered a mercy not to. The unbonded cannot survive, and the process of dying without a bond is considered—" She paused while the Matrix searched. "They would have let me finish." Leon said nothing. "I did not want to finish," Vile said simply. "I saw your station's light signature. I chose it." The room was very quiet. "The scanner says your decline slows when I am near you," Leon said. He was not going to pretend Carol had not told him. She deserved honesty, whatever else this situation was. "Is that what you felt? Is that why you looked at me when you opened your eyes?" Vile was still for a long moment. Then, "Your species has a compatible frequency. I did not know this before. None of my kind knew this. The signal." She paused. "It was not enough to reverse the cascade." "What would reverse it?" Leon asked. Vile looked at him with those gold eyes, dimmer than they had been. "A full bond," she said. "A joining of frequency. My people would call it resonance pairing. Your language does not have a direct word for it." "Try to describe it," Leon said. She thought for a moment. "It is an agreement," she said finally. "Made at the level of the body, not the mind. The body recognizes another body as its anchor. After that, it does not function without that anchor." He looked at the ceiling. Then he looked at Carol in the doorway. Carol looked back at him with an expression that said she had absolutely no guidance to offer and was extremely sorry about that. "An agreement," Leon repeated. "It cannot be forced. It cannot be faked. The biology knows the difference. If you agreed to it willingly and the resonance took, I would stabilize. I would survive." "And if I agreed to it?" Leon said carefully, "What would happen to me?" Vile's expression shifted. Something in the set of her mouth changed in a way the Matrix could not translate. "You would be anchored," she said. "In the way I described. You would not be harmed. You would not lose yourself. If I died, you would feel it." Leon looked at her. 36 hours, 40 minutes. "I need to think," he said. "You should." She looked out the porthole beside the medical bay chair. The stars outside were very still. Her skin had gone almost entirely gray at the edges now, the silver retreating toward the center of her, as if she were slowly becoming a smaller version of herself. Leon stood up and walked out. Carol followed him into the corridor. She started to speak. He held up one hand. He needed 30 seconds of silence first. He got 20 before the station's AI spoke through the ceiling. "The cascade rate has increased to critical threshold. Estimated time to total systemic failure has been revised downward. 31 hours. 5 hours had been lost while they talked." Leon dropped his hand. He turned around and walked back into the medical bay. Leon stood in the doorway of the medical bay and looked at Vile for a long moment before he spoke. She did not look at him. She was looking at the stars through the porthole, and her expression was the expression of someone who had decided to be very still about a very... He walked in and sat down across from her again. "I have questions," he said. "Ask them," she said. "If I agree to this, and it works, what does your life look like after? Do you go back to your people? Do you stay?" Vile turned from the porthole. "My people will not take me back. An unbonded who bonds with a non-native species is outside our social structure. I would have no place there." "So you would stay here, on Helios 7? "If you permitted it." "And the bond itself?" Leon said. "Walk me through it. What happens?" She explained it to him, with the directness of someone who had no energy left too. The resonance pairing, as she described it, was a biological event, not a ritual. It required sustained proximity and physical contact at a specific duration that allowed her body's signal frequency to recognize and encode his. It was not painful. It was not violent. It was, as best the Matrix could render it, something like tuning. 2 instruments finding a shared frequency and locking onto it. How long does it take? Leon asked. For the initial encoding? A cycle of your planet's sun. So we would need to be in close contact for several hours. Yes. And you believe the Matrix when it says I am compatible. I do not need the Matrix for that, Vial said. My body already knows. It is known since you touched my neck in the containment bay. She was holding a secondary scanner readout. She walked over and handed it to him without speaking. The rate of Vial's decline had accelerated again. The revision the AI had given was already outdated. It was closer to 27 hours now. Leon handed the readout back. He sat there for another minute. A person, whatever that word meant across the boundary of species, who had watched her partner die, who had spent 9 days in stasis and 14 minutes in vacuum, who had crossed every conceivable threshold of loss and endurance and arrived at his station's doorstep holding a single word. She had understood him. She had told him what she needed, an agreement, she had called it. If I agree to this, and my biology accepts the resonance, I will carry this for the rest of my life. Yes. You understand that I am not doing this, because I know you. I barely know you. I know, she said. You are doing it because I will die without it, and you have chosen not to allow that. It was a more precise read of his internal state than he had given her any material to work with. Is that wrong? She asked. That is exactly right. He stood up. He turned to Carol. I need you to monitor everything. Document all of it. This is new science, whether it works or not. Carol's face was doing many things at once, but she nodded. I will have continuous monitoring running. Leon turned back to Vial. What do you need from me? She stood. He could see how much it cost her. She was at the edge of what her body could sustain. And she was standing anyway, and that particular detail settled something in him that had been uncertain. Sit with me, she said, so our frequencies can begin to align. He moved his chair close to hers. They sat facing the porthole together. She raised her hand and placed it on the back of his. Lightly, not gripping. Her skin was cold again. Then slowly, it began to warm. Talk to me, Vial said. It helps the resonance read your signal more clearly. It needs to know you are a whole being, not just a frequency. So Leon talked. He talked about growing up in a small town in Colorado that was too cold 8 months of the year. He talked about his sister who taught elementary school and sent him pictures of her students. He talked about why he had requested the most remote deep space posting available. He talked about the specific quality of silence that existed on a station at 3 a.m, when all the systems were running smooth and there was nothing to do but think. The Matrix ran quietly in the background, translating, but she did not always wait for it. She watched his face while he spoke. At some point, she said, "You came here because Earth became too loud." He paused. Something like that. My kind has a word for that. When your own world no longer fits the shape of you. What is the word? She said it in her own. What does it mean? He asked. The feeling of a key that no longer fits its lock. That is more accurate than anything I have said about it in 38 years, he said. Vial's skin had stopped cycling. It had settled into a steady silver, warm-toned, the violet gone completely. The gold of her eyes had brightened by a measure that was visible to a human eye without any. She looked at it. She made a sound in the back of her throat that was not a word, but communicated clearly. Cascade has reversed, she said. Vial did not say anything. She turned and looked at Leon with those gold eyes, and the expression on her face was the expression of someone who had been holding a very heavy thing for a very long time and had just felt the first hand reach out to share the weight. Leon looked back at her. He did not know what came next. He did not know what his life looked like from this point forward. What it meant to be anchored to a being from a species humanity had not known existed 2 days ago. What the station's governing body would say. What his sister would think. What the science of this would yield over decades of careful study. He knew one thing. The clock on the wall read 26 hours and 14 minutes. The next 16 hours were not dramatic in any outward sense. Intensely, pressuredly quiet, the way a held breath is quiet. Leon and Val stayed in the medical bay. Carol came and went, taking readings, noting timestamps, filling a research document that would eventually become the most important xenobiological record in human history, though none of them were thinking about that yet. Leon slept in the chair beside Viles. She did not sleep. Her species, it turned out, did not sleep in continuous intervals the way humans did. They went dormant in small increments, brief and scattered, like punctuation in a very long sentence. She would go still for 11 minutes, then be present again. He woke twice to find her watching him sleep with an expression the Matrix had not yet found. He did not ask her what it meant. Some things were not for translation. By the 18th hour, the cascade had reversed fully enough that the scanner no longer flagged her as critical. It still flagged her as compromised, and Carol had quietly celebrated this by making 2 cups of the station's extremely poor coffee and handing one to Leon without comment. By the 22nd hour, Vielle stood up and walked to the porthole on her own. She stood and she walked and she put her hand on the frame and looked out at the stars, and her skin was pure silver, lit from within, and her hair moved in that slow, weightless way that Leon had stopped noticing because it had. "You are better," he said. "How do you feel?" She considered it, like a key that has found a new lock, one that was not made for it, but has decided to accommodate. Leon looked at his coffee. "That is either the best or the worst thing anyone has ever said to me." "I cannot tell either, but I mean it as the best." The crew of Helios 7 had, over the past 22 hours, quietly renegotiated their relationship with what they thought they knew. Dr. Carol Avery had not slept, and her research notes had passed 40 pages. Engineer Pete Darrow had spent most of the first day in the doorway of the medical bay, pretending to fix a panel that did not need fixing so he could watch without looking like he was watching. Communications officer Dana Reyes had sent 2 coded messages to Earth and received no response. Yet, which meant the response was being very carefully written by a very large number of people. Leon had not sent anything to Earth. He was not sure what he would say. On the 24th hour, Vielle turned from the porthole and said, "I need to tell you something about what happens next." Leon set down the coffee. "Tell me." "The bond is real," she said. "You will feel it. It builds over the first cycle of your sun, a pull when I am not in proximity, a kind of rightness when I am close. Your body will have encoded me as its anchor, and it will know when the anchor is present or no. It is like knowing someone is in the next room without hearing them, a fact your body holds. Will I need to be near you, like you needed a bond partner? Or is it different for humans?" This question she sat with for a moment. "I do not know," she said honestly. "No human has ever been bonded to my kind. I am working from biology 1 understand and biology 1 do not. My guess is that it will be gentler for you than for me. Your species did not evolve with the requirement." He had known this when he agreed. He had known it and agreed anyway. He found he did not regret it. That was information about himself he tucked away to examine later. "What do you want to do?" he asked her. "Now that you are stable, what do you want?" She looked at him, gold eyes, clear and lit. "I want to understand your species," she said. "I want to understand this station. I want to learn your science and offer mine. My people had knowledge that no human has access to. If I am to live in your world, I would like to be useful in it." "You are already useful," Leon said. "You are the most significant scientific encounter in human history." "I would prefer to be useful as a person," Vielle said, "rather than as an event." Leon looked at her for a moment. Then, "Fair." Dana Reyes knocked on the door frame. She looked apologetic, which on Dana meant something significant had happened. "Earth responded," she said. "And?" "They want a full debrief. They are sending an oversight team. They will arrive in 19 days. She paused. "They also, and I am quoting directly here, expressed significant concern about the nature of the bond and its implications for Commander Graves's continued fitness for duty." Leon absorbed this without expression. Then he looked at Vielle. She was watching him. The gold of her eyes had not dimmed. She was steady in a way she had not been when she arrived. And he knew she was reading the political weight of the message Dana had just delivered. "They think it compromises you?" Vielle said. "They think a lot of things," Leon said. 19 days is a long time. A lot of science can happen in 19 days. Carol appeared behind Dana. She was holding her tablet. She had clearly been listening. "I have 43 pages of documented biological data," Carol said, "that represent the most significant xenobiological discovery in human history. If they want to discuss fitness for duty, I will be happy to discuss the 43 pages first." Leon looked at his crew. Pete Darrow had materialized from wherever he had been pretending to fix something, and he was standing in the corridor with his arms crossed in the posture of a man who had decided. Dana had her chin up. Carol had the expression of someone with 43 pages of ammunition who was not afraid to use. Vielle looked at all of them. Then she said, in careful Matrix-translated English, still slightly layered, still 2 tones under the words, "Your people stand for each other." "Yes," Leon said, "we do." She nodded slowly, like she was filing this away, like she was encoding it. A conversation with Earth that was going to be difficult, complex, historically unprecedented. And the scanner on Carol's desk showed stable. And the clock on the wall was counting up now. Leon picked up his coffee. There was work to do. The oversight team arrived on day 19 in a vessel that was aggressively official-looking, all right angles, and government gray. 3 people came aboard. Director of Xenobiological Affairs Ruth Calloway, a compact woman in her 60s who moved like someone who had won arguments for a living. Senior Scientific Liaison Dr. Owen Park, who was so young that Leon spent the first hour wondering who he had impressed to get the posting. Leon met them at the docking bay. Vielle was not with him. He had asked her, gently, to let him do this first pass alone. She had looked at him with those gold eyes and said, "You think their first impression matters?" "I know it does," he said. "Then go," she said. "I will be in the lab with Carol." He had left her helping Carol catalog her own biological data, cross-referencing it with knowledge from her species that was already rewriting 3 sections of Carol's research document per hour. She had picked up English with a speed that went beyond what the Matrix could explain. Some part of her biology integrating language as a system rather than a vocabulary. She now spoke in single-tone sentences. No more layering, no more need for translation, though her phrasing still had an architecture that was distinctly not human, precise and spare and slightly too accurate. Ruth Calloway shook Leon's hand and looked at him the way a doctor looks at a patient who claims, searching for the thing that was wrong. "Commander Graves," she said. "How are you?" "Well," he said. "Better than average, honestly." "The bond," she said. "Yes." "Describe it for me. In plain terms." Leon considered how to do this accurately. It is like knowing the weather without checking. She is in Lab 3 right now. I know this because there is a kind of rightness in that direction that there is not when she is. I am not compelled by it. I am not impaired by it. It is information my body holds. The way I know my own heartbeat without thinking about it. Ruth looked at him for a long moment. "And if we asked you to transfer off the station? You would need a very compelling reason. Because the bond is real, and asking me to separate from her indefinitely would be asking me to live with an absence I am now structured to feel. That said, I am not incapacitated by it. I have run this station for 19 days at full operational capacity. Carol Avery's data supports everything I have told you." Ruth looked at Owen Park. Owen looked at his tablet. 47 pages now, he said. She updated it this morning. The meeting in the main conference room lasted 3 hours. Carol presented the full research document. Owen Park asked questions that were genuinely good. The questions of someone who was trying to understand rather than to contain. And Leon revised his initial read of him upward considerably. Claire Maddox wrote everything down and said nothing, and her expression remained precisely neutral. Ruth Calloway asked most of the hard questions. "Is she a threat?" Ruth asked, not unkindly, about halfway through. "She is a scientist whose entire civilization's knowledge is sitting in her head and who has been, cross-referencing it with Carol's data for 19 days. She is the most productive research partner this station has ever had. She is also a person who lost everything and built something new in the middle of a crisis, and she has handled every element of this situation with more dignity than I would have managed. Ruth leaned back in her chair. You are advocating for her? Yes, Leon said. I am. Because of the bond. Because it is the right thing to do, Leon said. The bond is why I know her well enough to advocate accurately. Then she said, Can I meet her? Vial came to the conference room with Carol, who had chosen to accompany her in the manner of someone who would be personally offended by any. Vial walked in and looked at the 3 oversight officers with a gaze that was direct without, and she sat down at the table as if she had been attending official meetings her entire life, which, as it turned out, she had. My name is Vial, she said. My bond partner died 11 days before I arrived here. I survived open vacuum for 14 minutes. I stabilized because your commander agreed to anchor me. I am aware that this is complicated. I am also aware that I am the only surviving member of my fleet who knows the navigational route to my people's home system. 3 years of biological research on species your science has not yet encountered. The precise material composition of a propulsion technology that would reduce your long-distance travel time by 60%, and the complete medical framework my people use for cellular regeneration, which your species does not yet have. Ruth Calloway was quiet for a moment. You prepared that, Ruth said. Leon told me the first impression matters. I wanted mine to be useful. Ruth looked at Leon. Leon looked at his hands. Owen Park was already writing. Claire Maddox, for the first time in 3 hours, smiled. It was small, and she put it away quickly, but it was there. Ruth turned back to Vial. What do you want? Vial said, To be useful. To continue. Ruth tapped her fingers on the table once, thinking. Then, we will need a formal integration framework. This will take time to build properly. I am familiar with building proper frameworks. Vial, my people invented 17 of the ones your species currently uses without knowing they derived. I am patient. Ruth almost smiled. The meeting ended 2 hours later with nothing resolved and everything in motion, which was, Leon had learned over years of working with governing bodies, the best possible outcome. He walked Vial back to the lab. The station hummed around them, all systems steady, all lights standard color. Outside the portholes, the debris field had thinned. The stars were very clear. How did it go? Vial asked him. Better than I expected, he said. For the first impression guidance. Thank you for using it. They walked in silence for a... Then Vial said, without looking at him, When I was in the debris field, before I chose your station's light, I had already decided to let the cascade finish. Leon stopped walking. She turned and looked at him. I had been alone for 9 days, she said. I saw no reason to continue, not because I expected to survive, only because going toward it felt like the last thing that was mine to choose. Leon stood in the corridor of his station, under the standard lights, surrounded by the hum of systems he knew by sound, and he looked at this being who had crossed the boundary of everything known and chosen a direction in the dark. I am glad you chose it, he said. Vial looked at him, silver skin lit from within. So am I, she said. In Lab 3, Carol's scanner sat on the desk. Its screen read stable, just a number holding still at a value that meant alive and continuing and forward. Outside, the stars did not change.